Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to do a 4K Blu-ray review of The Batman. This movie came out this year, I believe. Yeah, 2022. And Robert Pattinson, of course, is playing Batman. We have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Colin Farrell is playing the Penguin. John Turturro is playing Carmine Falcone. And what's his name? I have it up. Jeffrey Wright is playing Jim Gordon. I had to. I don't know that actor, so I had to look that up. Yeah. So these are all my opinions, of course. So if you hear something in here and you don't agree with it, that's because you're not me. So I have a little rating system I've devised that I think I might do going forward for reviewing movies. Sometimes I do it for fun, sometimes I don't. But I'm gonna do story, score, acting, visuals, audio, and then special features. The special features I'm not going to include in my averaged score because sometimes there's no special features and it gets a 0, but it doesn't really detract from the film. This is just for fun. It's whatever. Um, let's start with the score. Okay, the score. This is all out of 5. I gave the score a 2.5. Okay, that's a mediocre score. Some people liked the score. I did not. I didn't think it was very good. As a matter of fact, I want to say it was like Michael Giacchino. I don't even know. I'm gonna guess it's either like I'm gonna say Michael Giacchino because Michael Giacchino does every fucking movie that comes out now. He's a great composer. I'm not speaking ill of him. He just gives the studio what they want. Who did this? It's either him or Alan Silvestri. It definitely wasn't Hans Zimmer. Who did the music? Michael Giacchino. Wow, what a surprise! Yeah, it was not good. The score wasn't good. There were a few moments of cool cues. But it was mediocre, man. It was, I'm kind of going through these out of order, but this movie's very different, in my opinion, from a lot of superhero movies. I'm not really into superhero movies, and I think I liked this one because they let them do different things that I feel like a studio would normally not let the director do, especially a superhero movie. This was very much stylized like a neo-noir style film, in some ways almost like an old noir film, like a detective movie, and it was very dark and gritty and stylized in that manner. And I thought it was really freaking cool that they did that. Going a little bit ahead of myself, but back to the score. I think this movie really screamed for some jazzy noir music, and I think a lot of people would probably say, man, that doesn't really fit with Batman. But I beg to differ. I think that this movie is so stylized, and they were going really hard with the style, that it was almost necessary. I understand why they didn't do that because it's a Hollywood movie. They needed to pull it back a little bit, not let them go crazy. But the music was just there. It wasn't bad. It added nothing to the score, with the exception of a few cool throwback cues. There were some romantic string cues that reminded me of 40s noir films, but they were few and far between. The music was not great, in my opinion. I'm very cynical about Hollywood scores. I think we virtually never get a good score these days. And they played this Nirvana song a couple times. God forgive me if it's not Nirvana, but I'm pretty sure it was. That was a horrible decision. It was thematically appropriate, I guess, in terms of when they placed it in the film. But that was totally inappropriate, in my opinion. And it's very jarring as well to hear a song that exists in the real world when we're watching a movie about a fictional make-believe town. So that was, I would say the music was the worst part of the film for me. Also, the main theme. Wow, what? How did that happen? How did the main theme happen? The main theme of this movie, which is Batman's leitmotif, you hear it about, I'm guessing, 85,000 times in the film. And it is essentially, let me play it on my harmonica for you. It's in B flat minor, by the way, for you music folks. What does that sound like to you? I I can't play the harmonica. I'm just messing around with you. It's Darth Vader's Imperial March. It's so close to that. I can't believe they put that in the movie. And if that was a little cue I heard once in a while, okay. You hear it so many times. It's the fucking Imperial March. I can't forgive that. Music, not good. 2 out of 5. It was serviceable, not good. Story gets a 3. The story here is... This is the part I'm probably going to talk about the most. The story is interesting at times. By the way, this is a 3-hour film. It's quite a long one. I love long movies, so the runtime didn't scare me, but I could see how it could for folks. The story, wow. This is 2 movies that they tried to put into one movie. I think is the biggest issue with the story. It's very slow-paced, and it's kind of like a lot of noir movies and a lot of... I want to say surrealist, because it's not surrealist, but a lot of those artsy movies where you're almost like, what's happening? Like, what is the plot? Sometimes this movie just meanders. Now, I frequently like when that happens. Like I just mentioned, review Inherent Vice. That movie just meanders the whole time, but I liked it because it's like you're just getting vignettes of cool things that are happening. And if I was getting a movie where I was just seeing cool things that were happening in Gotham City in this, that would be cool. This movie is very much in media res where it just happens in the middle of things. Batman is like 2 years into this Gotham project he's doing, right, of being the Batman. And you don't really get it doesn't hold your hand a lot at the beginning. It just goes, this is what's going on now, so get up, hurry up and get with it. I like that. But it meandered a lot, which I at first found okay. A lot of this movie deals with like the Penguin and Carmine and Catwoman whole kind of thing, and you're getting little snippets of plot that's going by very slowly. But then there's also the Riddler, and the Riddler stuff is interspersed throughout. Now it all intertwines and has a deeper meaning, but the Riddler stuff is so infrequent that I almost forgot about the Riddler at certain points because they were focusing on the other stuff. And then they were also focusing on Selena Kyle being Catwoman. And it just felt like they had too many things they wanted to focus on, even with this longer runtime, that they didn't know how to bring it all together. And again, I'm reiterating, I'm saying that as a fan of very long films that meander. I almost felt like this was too focusless in its plot at times. And in terms of that, the style as well, it has that dark, gritty noir style, but then anything relating to the Riddler was very realistic, very scary, very real, like David Fincher. It turned into a David Fincher movie anytime he popped up, like Seven or even Saw, which is not David Fincher, but he gave me that vibe. And then it's taken back to the traditional noir and the gangster stuff. That feels like a crime drama a lot of the times with that stuff, and I love that feel. But then it would go to the Riddler, and it would be David Fincher. And that's not really the story, that's more the style, but that's how it felt. So it was very inconsistent in its style, though I liked both of the styles a lot. I thought that this movie was excellent in its way it did the styles, but there was too much of a jarring change sometimes for my liking. And then what happens at the end of this, and forgive me, I'm going to say some spoilers in here. I should have said that at the beginning, but I'm going to say that now. The last 35 minutes, there's a long credit sequence in this movie, so the last 35, 40 minutes or so feels like studio intervention. It feels tacked on. It feels like with the death of Carmine, the movie should have kind of ended there and wrapped up. And it was like, oh, wait, the Riddler stuff, let's get that in there. And it's just weird because I enjoyed that whole sequence at the end with the Riddler. I thought, hey, this is cool, man. But it just felt tacked on. As a matter of fact, I'm watching the film and I pause it and I go, how far am I in this movie? 2 hours and 6 minutes. And I go, holy smokes, we've barely seen the Riddler. Now you see him, doing his Zodiac, cryptic messages and his videos and stuff. He's kind of like this incel-y kind of character, if you will. That's how some people said it. I don't really see him as that, but you see, he's getting these people, these like outliers together. He's forming this sort of dark coalition thing. There's all these little political subtexts in this movie. I didn't think they were all that on the nose, so it was okay with me. But you don't really see him. And then I'm thinking, like, when the hell is this dude going to pop up? And then literally, like, 30 seconds later, somebody in the film goes, oh my God, it's the Riddler. And I'm like, okay, here he comes. And then he gets arrested, and you don't ever, like, see him in costume. And then he's in Arkham the rest of the movie. And then you get a scene between him and Batman where he basically exposes, and by expose, I mean gives you exposition for his entire plot. And maybe I missed some things, but I don't recall seeing this massive buildup. It, to me, felt like, not like, oh shit, because there was a very much an oh shit moment of like, uh-oh, here's his plot coming together. To me, it didn't feel like, oh, I get it now, uh-oh, here it goes. It was just like, oh yeah, he just told us what he's going to do, and now we're going to see it happen. So I thought that was some exposition dump. Maybe I missed things. This is a long movie, and it's very drawn out and boring at times. The crime drama stuff, I did find boring at times, as much as I liked what I was seeing. Sometimes I felt like it was just meandering is fine. Like I said, it just was like lulls of nothingness where I felt like they needed to move it along. And then when we get to the Riddler stuff, it kicked into high gear, and it was an action film. You know, it lost the noir vibe to me. It went straight action, Hollywood action. It was good, but it was very different. I didn't even really have the David Fincher vibe at that point. So this movie was tonally inconsistent, and the story was inconsistent. Yet, I very much enjoyed those parts as a separate entity. And that is why I give the story a 3 out of 5, because those separate events were all rather interesting to me, and I feel very well done. Everything in this movie bleeds style, with the exception of a little bit of the ending, even though I enjoyed it at the same time. It's just not a cohesive piece. But I'm very glad this exists, and that they took a risk and did this cool thing with this massive IP. I mean, kudos to Matt Reeves for doing this. He gets points for me as a director, and I look forward to seeing what he does from now on. That's the story, man. I don't know. I think that this movie you could do two things with it. I think that it either needed cutting, bringing it down to 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes, or extending the runtime. And I know some people are like, fuck no, don't extend the runtime. This movie's 3 hours long, my friend. I think that with the way that this movie is shot and the style, especially when it's deep in its noir roots, it's very slow paced, and the way it's made, it needs that time to breathe. I would be in favor of extending the runtime. I know that sounds crazy, but if this movie was 4.5 hours long, maybe it would be more boring, but to me, I think that would do it benefit. Now, I think there's not going to be a director's cut of this movie. The director is very satisfied with his cut of this. But for someone like me and my tastes, I would have no qualms sitting through a 4.5 hour film. And I actually think that this movie needs that to breathe, so that there aren't jarring cuts in story and tone. I think that there needs to be a pretty substantial increase in the running time to flesh this out. Or cut it and make it into 2 movies. Because at times, like I said in the beginning, it felt like 2 movies that they were at odds with of how to get together. The themes intertwined, like I said, quite well, but not the actual plot. But again, I'm a fan of long movies. I would prefer the running time to be extended substantially. So that's the story. We talked about the score, the acting. I gave the acting a 4 out of 5. I thought it was quite good throughout. Robert Pattinson is an awesome actor. He still gets shit for being in Twilight still. Get over it. He's a good actor. He has some serious chops. He did it, he wasn't, it's weird. This movie's called The Batman, and obviously he's the main character, but at times I was like, is Batman even the main character in this? At times I felt like they almost didn't give him enough material to shine, yet I feel like he did an excellent job with the material he was given. So I don't have any qualms with Robert Pattinson's performance. I thought he was quite good, and I'd like to see him as Batman again. I really liked him. Selena Kyle, which was played by Zoe Kravitz, right, was probably the weakest character for me. And the character as well, I just didn't care for. It almost felt like I don't know. It was one of the too many cooks. I don't know what too many cooks spoil the pot. Too many characters, right? Like she existed for that last moment where she could save Batman at the end. There's a story there, of course, but it all felt contrived to me, and her acting was the weakest. I know a lot of people liked her. I didn't. She was okay. And then we have John Turturro. I don't need to say anything about him. He's one of the best living actors. Even in the limited amount he's in this film, he was good. And then I'm going to move this. This is like the most impromptu video I've done in quite a while. I'm going to go back. I don't want to do a disservice by not mentioning this actor, but I can't remember his name. So I'm just going to look it up real quick. This is going to have barely. Jeffrey Wright. I already mentioned him as Jim Gordon, Commissioner James Gordon. Man, I was very impressed by this guy. I've never seen him in anything before, and Gary Oldman, hard shoes to fill. Wow, this guy was good. I really believed him, and I liked him. I didn't think I would, but I did. I really, really liked him as the character. Yeah, man, I want to see him in the next movie. He was good. I really liked his performance. It was a very good one. And then we have, I'm going to miss some people, Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell was great. It's weird sometimes. It's like, there's not a lot of material to really work with. He was good. His makeup was good. It was actually really good. I know everyone was saying the makeup was good, but you see it move with his face, and it looks very good. But acting in that kind of makeup is difficult, and he did a great job. I love that old school gangster vibe I got from him in that. It was very good. And then Andy Serkis played Alfred, and I have nothing to say because Alfred's barely in this movie. You barely see Bruce Wayne as well. Like I said, this is a movie where it takes place early on in Batman's career. So it's very low tech, but high tech at the same time. And it's more of a detective movie than a action movie, which I loved. Again, going back to the noir style. So that shit was all really cool. You just don't really see Bruce Wayne. There's just a lot of little missed opportunities in this movie. That's the acting. It was overall quite good. There was only one major person. It was Mayor-elect Rial. I don't know what the actress's name is, but her acting was not good at all. And they could have picked a better actor to play that role. It was kind of wooden compared to the other great acting around her, even Zoe Kravitz. So that was the only complaint I had. Visuals get a 5 out of 5. There's nothing bad to say here. Truly, I have zero complaints about the visuals. If you have watched this movie on HBO Max and you haven't seen it on 4K Blu-ray, and you can, get it, because the visuals are strikingly different, as well as the audio, which we'll get into. Holy smokes, this looks really good. I gotta warn you, this is not going to be a movie that's going to be crystal clear all the time, okay? This was shot on digital. I don't remember the name of the camera, but it was shot on digital at 4K. Then they transferred it to film to give it some treatment, and then they brought it back to digital so they could edit it. And my God, I'm glad they did that. It only could have been better probably if they shot this on film. There's a film grain. I remember when I first started watching this, I paused it and I said, I see film grain. Did they shoot this on film? And then I looked it up. It's not heavy film grain. And I don't know, maybe they added it in post, or maybe that's a process of the transfer to film. But it's there and it adds significantly. And the movie would be not as good to me without it. The camera that they shoot with focuses in on a subject, and everyone other than that gets a little bit blurry. It's an interesting filmmaking technique, but I really liked it. So oftentimes you're going to see things that are out of focus. That's just how this movie was shot. It was done intentionally, and I think you'll see that that's a cool effect. It's not just like the movie doesn't have high visual fidelity, because there are moments in rain and reflections and things where it does. And HDR comes into play there with some just stunning HDR. There's not a ton of color in this movie because it's oftentimes just in the dark. But this movie has a very warm lighting to it. As a matter of fact, look this up on your own because I'm not sure of the details, but I know that they went through some process to give this color to the film when they transferred it to film. And I would assume that added an orangish warm tint, which is very easy on your eyes, especially when you're seeing so much of this movie in the dark. When you get bright lights put in your face, they're not that white light. They're very warm and orange. So it's bright and it takes you out of the darkness, but it doesn't hurt your eyes. Very smart decision on their part. Man, the visuals were kick-ass. They were absolutely amazing. Again, I've said this is just what I like to see. This is a movie that they all clearly cared about, the people working on it. It's very filmic looking. Again, it's not crystal clear all the time, but It doesn't need to be. That's kind of what they were going for. So visuals, amazing, 5 out of 5. They were absolutely wonderful. Awesome. It looked so pretty. And audio gets a 5. Audio is very difficult for me to judge and give you an impression because I do not have Atmos system. I don't have a surround sound system. So your judgment of the audio will be totally different than mine. I literally cannot judge the Atmos track for you because I don't have that capability. I have a pretty low end sound bar with a really good subwoofer, but that's just what I have. I don't have that other cool stuff, unfortunately. And I gotta tell you that even with my system, this movie still kicked some ass. It was very quiet and whispery at times, like they were just talking like this, and I could still hear what they were saying. And then when it kicked in with the loud stuff, it almost knocked me back in my chair. There's a huge amount of variety and sound in this film. So if you're someone that likes your movies very compressed, you're not going to like that because they'll whisper and then there'll be an explosion, right? And stuff when like Batman was punching people, I could feel the sub. Like, I have a good sub, and man, it was good. And explosions, and there was like a ringing in the ears moment. I don't have surround sound, but I thought I heard it in my ears, and I paused the movie to make sure my tinnitus wasn't kicking in. And I was like, oh no, that's in the movie. I thought it was above me, and I'm like, did I get Atmos speakers overnight or something? I mean, just on a basic sound bar, right? So this movie's mixed well. I think that's a testament that if you were to view this, or listen to this rather, through an excellent sound system, I'm just guessing, but I have a suspicion if you listen to this through a great system, it will probably blow your mind. I have a feeling. That's the audio. What's last is special features. Like, again, I don't factor this into the score because I want to keep it separate, but 5. There's an immense amount of special features to get your hands on if you like that stuff. There's an entire disc dedicated to special features. So yeah, there's just so much fun stuff to dig into. And I should say extras included in this category as well. The little touches. I've showed you the disc on my last video. I loved all the touches. The menus on the actual discs are great. It's all good stuff. So overall, I'd say this movie gets a 4 out of 5. Depending on the wind, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 because sometimes I was just like, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, there were just times where it either felt like they were just getting too indulgent with themselves in the meandering kind of stuff, or at times the studio was super intervening in the film. But then there were times where I thought, this is fucking awesome. So it's a little bit of a teeter-totter, but I cannot say this was a bad movie and I didn't enjoy it. I did. So 3.5, 4. And the whole movie gets about a 4, 3.75, 4. It was a good watch. I'm glad I have it. I'll watch it again. It was a very long video, but it's a long movie, so I had a lot to say about it. Yeah, check it out, man. I think there's something for everyone in here, though I don't think that this is going to be that mass-appealing superhero movie that everybody always expects. It's definitely not like that, and that's probably why I liked it so much. Okay, peace out. I'll see you next time, and have a great day.